Hi everybody, Tex-Mex here. Thanks for joining me for another video in our saga of testing different types of .22 ammo. Today we're going to do, I guess, what would be considered hyper velocity ammunition. My experience with hyper velocity isn't great. Normally I don't find it to be terribly accurate, but we'll see. And I'm going to try it out of my Ruger American. It's a standard rifle I've used for a lot of these tests. They're really very accurate. 22s, a nice little bolt action, and I've been able to group very well with it with lots of different types of ammo. But today we're going to try, let's see here, 6 different types of hyper velocity ammo. So the first one's going to be Stinger. I mean, it's the classic Stinger ammo. I've been using this even since I was a little kid. Not all rifles like this stuff because I believe the casing is slightly longer than your standard .22 long rifle, which is why I'm doing this out of a bolt action and not one of my 10-22s or some other semi-auto. I've got 2 types of Winchester here. This is a 40 grain Super Speed, and this one claims it's at 1,300 feet per second as compared to the Stinger that is at just over 1,600 feet per second. And then there's this hyper velocity that's at 1,435 feet per second, also a 40 grain. And then we have 2 types of Aguila. 30 grain Supermaximum claims to be going at 1,700 feet per second. Okie dokie. And this one, let's see here, copper plated bullet. And then I think this is basically the same thing. It's a 30 grain, except this one is a hollow point, but also claiming 1,700 feet per second. And then we're gonna finish off, well, I'm not sure what order I'll do these in, but as far as the last ammo I'm gonna test is the CCI Velocitor. And this one is a copper plated hollow point at 1,435 feet per second. So we're gonna shoot 10 rounds of each at 50 yards. I've got my target set up down there at 50 yards. I also have my chronometer set up because, I mean, I don't know which one of these ammunitions my rifle will like. It may not like any of them. We'll see. Hopefully one of them will group relatively well. But at least regardless of how my rifle reacts with these types of ammunition, we'll get to see how consistent they are through the chronograph, their speeds, the standard deviation. So even if my rifle doesn't like it, if they are very consistent in their speed, then it's possible that another rifle might like it. It's not the fault of the ammunition of its being very consistent. At that point, it's just the rifle that might be finicky about which particular .22 long rifle it shoots well. But anyway, I've already talked too much. Let me go ahead and set this up. I'm going to get my camera going. It's been a nice and still morning. I'm getting a small breeze right now, but it's very, very light and it comes and goes. For those of you watching my videos, I wait and take my shots when it calms down, and I'll cut those parts out so you're not sitting there watching me wait for, you know, a minute until the wind dies down before I pull the trigger. So I will edit to my shooting a little bit to make it a little bit faster. But anyway, once again, I've talked too much. Let me get everything set up. Okay, I got my camera set up. I got the chronograph set up. We are going to start with this is the Winchester 40 grain Super Speed, round nose copper plated at 1,300 feet per second. At least that's the speed it claims. I will put up the document at the end with all the information from the chronograph, but it should also be calling out the speeds as I am shooting. Get comfortable here, make sure I'm nice and stable. Okay, first one's in the chamber. What is going on here? So the first one's a misfire. I mean, if you can see there, I'm trying to put it in the sun a little bit. There is at the 12 o'clock mark, there's a big strike there from the rimfire. So not looking good for the Winchester. Let's try the next. You know what? I'll load one more in. Maybe it was just this one round. Hopefully it's just this one round. But let me load in one more. So we're still shooting 10. We'll try that again.
$1,337.
Okay. Oh, again? Another one. Putting it at the 12 o'clock mark. Now moving it to the 3 o'clock. You can see there is a good divot there in the rim. So I'm not going to load another one in. Let's see how many more misfires we have here. Another one. Okay, not boding well. Yeah, and it's got a strike. Once again, it's got a good strike on there. I'll show it for a second. Try not to move my hand so you can see it. Although it's probably not focusing very well on the GoPro. So far, the Winchester is not looking good.
1,340.
Okay, I think that one grouped near the other one. No, maybe not. No, not at all. I'm sorry, it hit lower.
1,295.
Okay, we're getting a little bit of a breeze. Yeah, it's not grouping very well at all. Oh, it's grouping terribly.
1,336.
I'm not sure the breeze is really going to matter. I just finished shooting just for myself. I was practicing with some standard velocity out of a 1022 with the same slight breeze going on, and I was grouping them all very tight. So, oh, another one. Yeah, look at that. Another strike on the rim. Putting it there at the 12 o'clock mark of the rim. So I am not going to recommend this Winchester. It's not doing well.
1,337. 1,309.
Okay, let me wait a second because now the breeze is picking up. Oh, it feels nice though. The sun's out, so whew, nice breeze.
1,331.
Okay, I thought it was another dud, but actually I'm just out of ammunition. Okay, so the Winchester did not group very well, and almost half of the rounds were duds. So I cannot recommend this Super Speed at all. Let me go ahead and try the other Winchester and see if it does any better. So now we're moving on to the Hyper Velocity. It's also a 40 grain. This one claims to go at 1,435 feet per second. Hollow point copper plated.
$1,425. $1,425.
Wow.
$1,362. $1,440. $1,430. $1,387. $1,393. $1,398. $1,387. $1,303.
That should be 10. That is 10. Okay. Well, it seemed to group them slightly better, and it shot them all. So points for no duds. Now we're moving on to the Aguila Supermaximum. This is just the lead, well, it says copper plated, but I think it's just a round nose. It's not a hollow point. Let's see how it does.
1,697.
Woo, it's fast. And it hit the top of the target.
1,656.
Okay, I need to wait for the wind to die down.
1,642. 1,609. 1,614. 1,582. 1,603. 1,657. 1,668. 1,633.
And that's 10. Okay. So, not terribly impressed. But it looks like the Aguila did better than the Winchester. So let me load up the other 3 ammunitions and set up my chronograph, and we'll keep on going. Okay, the next one we're going to do here is the Aguila Supermaximum hollow point. So it seems like it's very similar to the last Aguila, but this one's just a hollow point. There we go.
1,579.
There we go.
1,498. 1,450. 1,489. 1,428. 1,460. 1,570.
There we go.
1,436.
'Come on, computer. Guess I didn't get that one. Yeah, it didn't register that one either, but it registered 8 out of the 10, so that should be good enough. Now we're moving on to the CCI Velocitor. This little box right here. Let's see how it does. You know what? Let me change my chronograph just a little bit. I don't like the angle it's at. Okay, much better.
$1,428. 1,312. 1,312. 1,360.
Okay, there comes the wind. Let me give it a second.
1,357.
Well, I think we have a winner, or at least the best one so far. Okay, breeze again. I'm going to give it a second.
1,329. 1,297.
Oh, not 10 yet.
1,350.
That's 10. Okie dokie. I'll give my barrel a second to cool off while I adjust my chronograph as well. And we'll shoot the stingers. And last but certainly not least, the CCI Stinger. I always call them stingers, but it's not in the plural, it's in the singular. It's a stinger. So let's see how well the stinger groups.
$1,543. $1,539. $1,535. $1,550. $1,549. $1,550. $1,540. $1,544. $1,551. $1,546.
There we go. Okay, that's 10 rounds. Let's go get our target and see how we did. Well, ladies and gentlemen, here we are at our target, and I brought it here to my pickup truck, to the bed of the truck, because there's too much sun and it just makes it easier to see the impact points. But we will start out, well, chronologically. We started with the Winchester Super Speed. This stuff did terrible in more than one way. Not only did it not group well, but I had a ton of misfire. So I don't know if this was just a bad batch I got, but I would not recommend buying any of those in the future. As far as the Winchester Hyper Velocity hollow point, copper plated, it did a little bit better. At least I didn't have any misfires with it. You can see instead of this large pattern that's probably close to 4 inches with the Super Speed, the Hyper Velocity grouped a little bit tighter. Not a whole lot tighter, but enough to make a noticeable difference. And then we moved on to the Aguila. They're both Supermaximum. The only difference, I think, is that this is a hollow point and this one is not. And they started to group a little better. Now, these are the fastest of all the ones I've shot, and I think that's probably being shown by the data on the chronograph that I've posted after each string. But it's a decent group. It hit a lot higher. These are lighter bullets. These are 30 grains versus 40 grains. And not bad. I mean, I don't ever expect great accuracy out of very fast ammunition. I mean, bullets tend to start to wobble a little bit. Let's just say when they're transitioning into or out of the speed of sound, that can certainly cause a little bit of a wiggle, which is going to affect your accuracy, which is why most target ammunition tends to be subsonic if possible, or at least a standard velocity where it doesn't go too fast, because then you don't have to worry about any wobble from it breaching the speed of sound. And let's see here, this as far as the hollow point versus the standard round nose, they did about the same. Much better than the Winchester. As you can see, that was the tightest Winchester group, and it does look like, although it's still a very large spread, they were a little tighter in how they were hitting. Same here. A decent size spread, but at least they seem to be hitting in a slightly tighter group. And the winners today are the let's see, and this is the other way around. The Stingers were the last ones, if I remember correctly. So we started with the Velocitor, and the Velocitor did very, very well. I mean, look at that. It gave a relatively tight group, considering the velocity it's going at. This one is a 40 grain, so it may be possible that my particular rifle prefers 40 grain ammunition versus the lighter stuff, but this one did very, very well, as did the good old-fashioned Stinger. I mean, I've been using Stingers since the 80s, so as far as hyper velocity ammo or fast 22 long rifle, I think most people my age or older know about Stingers, because back then that's really all we had before, you know, companies started producing lots of different types of hyper velocity ammunition. But look at the good little group on the Stinger there. You know, for 50 yards, it's not bad. It's a tight little group. Between the Velocitor and the Stinger, it looks like the Stinger actually did a little bit better. But they both did well. It would be, and the Stinger is a 32 grain, so it's a 32 grain versus a 40 grain. So some barrels prefer heavier ammunition, some prefer lighter, so you might try to figure out which one yours likes the most if you are looking at some fast 22 long rifle ammo, because at the end of the day, that is what I would recommend. Out of all of these, the Winchester I would recommend the least, the Aguila somewhere in between, and the best was the CCI. Now, one thing I wanted to show here is you have to be careful when shooting Stingers out of certain rifles and certain chambers. If you have a target rifle, and what I mean that if you have a target chamber in your barrel, they tend to be very tight, and I would not recommend shooting Stingers out of them. I checked the size of the casing on the Velocitor, and it seems to be a standard 22 size versus the Stingers that are a little bit longer, and I'm going to try to show that here. If I put these side by side right here on, and I'm trying to make sure they're about the same height. Yeah, there we go. On the black part of the target here, I mean, you can see, and I'm sorry, for some reason my GoPro is giving me some issue here, but you can see that the Stinger casing is slightly longer, and it's slightly longer than all standard 22 long rifle ammunition. And so if you have a tight chamber, it's not going to like the Stinger, and it could actually potentially damage your chamber if you start shooting a lot of it through there. So although the Stinger did the best as far as being the most accurate of all of these ammunitions, you really want to make sure your rifle is one that can handle these longer casings before you attempt shooting it. Or else a second or another good recommendation would be the Velocitor, because that does seem to have a regular size casing. So once again, thanks for watching. I hope you are out there having fun, staying safe, and I will see you in the next video.